God, I'm telling you, my dogs are barking today.
But man, my dogs are barking.
On today's episode of the My Dogs Are Barking podcast, we have quite a treat. It's the very first episode in our brand new series where we are covering each opponent that Mississippi State will be taking on here in the football season that is upcoming. Although we're in May, we're going to kind of get a way too early kind of look at each opponent. And so starting off with Eastern Kentucky University, where Mississippi State will be playing them on August 31st. But before we get into all the rest of that, I want to say what's up to Austin. Austin, how you doing today? I like the M over S, got the Mississippi State baseball attire on today, don't you?
I'm repping it, man. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here for the first part of this series. Is going to be a very good series. Looking forward to doing this, and looking forward to talking with Wes here today.
It's going to be a good time. And yeah, we have Wes Chandler, man, quite a treat. He's the host of the Kickin It with the Colonels podcast. He's one of the voices of Eastern Kentucky sports. Wes, it's May, man, but we're already being able to talk about football. How's that?
That sounds pretty good. And I got to say, I don't know. I think I feel special. I hope I don't lower your all standards there by being the first one.
Oh man, no, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great, and I'm so glad to have somebody like you that has such. I mean, you have a closeness with the actual university. We get the pleasure of talking with some people who are maybe fans, maybe even alumni, but maybe not as directly. Close to calling, because you do things along with like partnering with the university, correct?
Yeah. So our situation is a little bit different. We pretty much do every sport. But yeah, it does take a lot of time, and we are able to not just do some of the primary sports. We're able to cover the other like secondary sports like volleyball, soccer, all those other. Of course, those are long past now, but it does keep us busy, and we do all those on the radio and TV. So it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and Wes, as I mentioned, we're in May. It's super early, but a lot of this time is spent with each fan base kind of thinking about their own team. What's their team going to be like? Who's going to be a quarterback? And that kind of thing. And we don't often think about the opponents that are going to be taken on in the fall until it gets a little bit closer. And so as we're kind of approaching and getting closer and closer here to a couple more months to kick off, I'd love to know, what are the expectations for Eastern Kentucky coming off of a 2023 season that saw, I guess, an overall losing record of, I believe it was 5-6, but they were in so many games, especially late. What are the expectations from a fan base, from a university perspective, going into this season?
Right. So anytime you mention EKU football, the expectations are going to be astronomically high. It's a really big brand of FCS football level. They're back in the late 70s, early 80s, EKU, when it was Division One AA at the time, EKU was in the national championship 4 consecutive seasons, winning 2 of those, winning it in 1979 and 1982 under head coach Roy Kidd, who just recently passed away a couple of months ago. So he set the standard for what EKU football has become in the late 70s, early 80s. That carried all the way into the early 2000s. EKU was one of the more predominant FCS level programs in all the country. And unfortunately, the last couple of years, it's not been. Well, before Coach Walt Wells was coming on board, it kind of gotten away from that a little bit, and I think that's why the coaching change was made to get back to Walt Wells, who was an assistant for Roy Kidd, and so he has kind of helped bring that style of play back, the energy back in this program. And even though, yeah, you look at it on the atmosphere, on the peripheral last year, it was a 5-6 season. Not really the type of season that we had envisioned, but you look at it in the grand scheme of things is, yeah, you play 2 FBS teams. You're probably not going to win those. So that's 2 losses right there. And like you mentioned, if you look at the 4 FCS losses we had last year, all of them were by 3 points, and one of them was in overtime. So you take those games and your 4 losses are by a combined 12 points, that means
Mm.
you're just a couple of plays from maybe even like an 8-win season. So it really could have gone one of two ways, and more times than not, just unfortunately, it went against us last year. But hopefully, we can flip that script. But yeah, anytime you mention the words EKU in football, the expectations are going to be really high.
Okay.
Austin, I know you kind of want to start us off with a set of questions for Wes. What do you want to ask?
I got you. First of all, just to hear your excitement, that was super cool to like listen to like a FCS fan perspective. I don't really
Yeah,
get that all the time, so
yeah,
that was
yeah.
really cool. I just wanted to ask, since like you said, y'all won 5 games last year, couldn't get it done like late in the game. It seemed like what was kind of the strength of schedule looking into this year? For this year, what do you see like that you're excited about? You think that is like the ultimate strength for what y'all have coming into the 2024 season?
Well, obviously, for a second consecutive year, we open up with 2 FBS opponents. After we
Mm.
play you all, we play one of our rivals in Western Kentucky, who's
Uh,
a FBS school as well. So, anytime you do that, you probably look at it and you're thinking, this is going to be really tough to try to navigate. If you can eke out a win somewhere, that would be phenomenal. But the strength of schedule is and the philosophy is that because of kind of the expectations and the brand that we're trying to get back to is we'll play anybody anywhere, and that kind of goes back to Coach Wells's first season is when his first season was the COVID year, and when nobody was playing football, we were one of the very few schools that were playing football. We
mm.
we played Central Arkansas twice in a year, and you don't ever see that ever again. Like hardly. We did it at home and home with them, and we were playing. I think we played 3 FBS schools that year. Like we were
Wow.
playing literally anybody we could to try to get a program established and get that mindset of we're trying to get back to where we were 15, 20 years ago.
I got you. I got you.
And when you have, the coming off of last season, and you kind of mentioned that Coach Wells kind of has this mentality. He's ready to play anytime, go up against anybody. I know even last year, Eastern Kentucky played University of Kentucky really
Yeah.
well, and it really close, really good game versus a very quality opponent. But as you know, just like with your team and like every other team, there's departures, there's transfers, of all those kind of things that leave the cupboard in some ways, maybe not necessarily weaknesses, but kind of unknowns. Is there a particular part of this team coming into this year that you would consider to be, like I said, a weakness or even just kind of a question mark?
Well, I think there's a couple of things you can look at. Obviously, it starts with the quarterback position, and that's the big one right there that everybody looks at first. And when you have a guy like we had last year in Parker McKinney, who was there for 6 years, and
Mm.
this is the first time really in 4 years that we will have a quarterback competition coming into camp. So there's that quarterback decision that needs to be made. There was a backup that was the number 2 guy last year. They were really high on in Cam Herget. He's got a shot to be the starter. And then they also brought in a transfer from Western Illinois in the name of Matt Morrissey. He was the starter there at Western Illinois. I think those two are going to battle to be that QB1, and those two are going to have some really good competition, I think. But really, you look at it, and you had a veteran leader like Parker McKinney. You just trusted the offense in him. I think Coach Wells has told me multiple times that McKinney was just like another coach on as a player that the players could relate to because he was there for so long. He had seen so many things. And you look at our record book, and Parker McKinney's name is just everywhere because one, he was really talented, but also he was there for 6 years, so he was able to set a lot of records. And so obviously the quarterback position is one, and then on the defensive side of the ball, last year we were not very good. There was some blown coverages, some missed assignments there that they'll try to clean up this year, and I think they will be able to better the defense by bringing in some of the transfers that they were able to sign through the portal.
And take us forward, and let's say we're September 1st. It's the day after the game. The Starkville Daily News has their headline out, and kind of think about what the results would be if Eastern Kentucky were to beat Mississippi State, knowing with what we know now. Of course, players might bloom and develop, guys that maybe we're not as familiar with. But with what we know now, if the headline were to read Eastern Kentucky beats Mississippi State because, what would you say that answer would be? And then Austin's going to get the opposite side next.
I would say it'd be because of their running game. EKU had a really good 1-2 punch last year in Braden Sloan and Joshua Carter on the ground. They were two different backs now. Unfortunately, just like about a week and a half ago, Braden Sloan did enter his name in the transfer portal. So it doesn't look like he will be back. So it could be just a one-back system for EKU coming in. And but Carter is got that combination. He's pretty quick, not as quick as Braden Sloan was, but he is extremely powerful. He's a really good runner, and his older brother is a running back for the New York Jets. So he's been able to I'm sure learn a couple of things from him, and I really enjoy watching him run the football. And occasionally he can leak out and catch a pass. But I would say if EKU does beat Mississippi State, it'd be because Joshua Carter had a really strong game, probably going over 100 yards on the ground.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, just on the flip side, like Landon said, if Mississippi State beats EKU like September 1st, like the day after, what do you think? Like, what would you think the reason for that would be?
I would say the defense. The defense is probably one of the biggest question marks coming in for EKU. There was a lot of talk of some players being moved around, maybe even changing positions. That's still probably some things in the work there, but the defense definitely has got to be shoring up a little bit. They got there were times last year where the coverage was just not what it was supposed to be. And I think that when you talk about size and you see the difference in some of the FBS size versus some of the FCS size, and just the caliber of talent, there is a little bit of a gap there talent-wise, obviously, but you also see the size as well in there. So I think if Mississippi State is able to beat EKU, it would be because their defense, EKU's or Mississippi State's offense, really trying to impose their will on an EKU team that has some question marks coming in defensively.
I got you.
And think about Eastern Kentucky from the perspective of Mississippi State fans or alumni. Kind of give us an opportunity to kind of learn about what the typical experience is for Eastern Kentucky football. Like when you think about Eastern Kentucky fan, our alumni, who are those kinds of people? Could kind of paint a picture for the people of Starkville, Mississippi.
Yeah. So there's a couple that alumni that come to mind. You all, probably the most notable, especially for you all, might be he didn't go a full 4 years there, but for a year, Dan Patrick actually attended EKU. So he was a colonel there for a little bit. Was on the basketball team, didn't hardly play, but he was there for a year before he went somewhere else. An actor by the name of Lee Majors, they call him the $6 million man. He was he made a lot of money being a really good actor. He was a really good football player as well. And I think it all starts with Coach Roy Kidd there for EKU. The success he had, top 10 all time in wins with over 300 of those. You talk about that at any level, it's really remarkable. So I think Coach Kidd really set the precedent for EKU, and he started this run of success for EKU, and then Coach Wells done a nice job building around it. The atmosphere for like a typical EKU football home game is really kind of incredible, honestly. You have the typical college football experience of student body out there tailgating all day long leading up to the game. We've got a special lot designed for RVs that a lot of alumni and parents even can come and park their RV. They'll come on a Friday evening, have dinner or something out in Richmond, and then go back to their RV and spend all day Saturday in their RV tailgating. So it's really cool experience. There's lots of things for the children to do. They pop up a lot of the inflatables. Kids can bounce around, have a good time, and then also the parents can really just sit back and enjoy a really good football game because they're also, if you see our stadium, one of the cool things about our stadium is there's a hill on one of just past the end zone, so you can bring your lawn chair out there and kind of just
Wow.
out be able to relax and bring your towel. Kids love to play on that hill. Yeah, we'll be put in the middle of a game, and all of a sudden you'll just wander your eyes over and you'll see a kid tumbling down the hill just because they're having so much fun. But it is a really cool experience, and the university has come a long way in making that game day experience more enjoyable for fans.
Well, thank you so much to Wes for joining us. Thank you so much for tuning in to the My Dogs Are Barking podcast.